Good morning, Philadelphia Eagles fans. Happy Monday. We are exactly 10 days away from the 2025 NFL Draft. And in today's video, we're going to do a 7-round mock draft for your Philadelphia Eagles. We're getting closer and closer to the draft. The top 30 recruits are starting to be released to the public. The Eagles have some really interesting names on the list. We're going to discuss some of them as we do our 7-round mock draft. Let's get into it. All right, Philadelphia Eagles fans, we're exactly 50 subscribers away from 15,000. So if you could do me a huge favor, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much. Let's get into this mock draft. And I've done several mock drafts lately where Colston Loveland is still on the board for the Philadelphia Eagles at 32. If we look at the way the board played out, Derek Harmon is on the board. I do like him, and a lot of these cornerbacks are still available, like Maxwell Hairston, Savon Revel. And then guards and tackles like Tyler Booker, Donovan Jackson, Darius Alexander is another D lineman that I do really like. But if in some crazy world, Colston Loveland is available to the Philadelphia Eagles at 32, I don't really see a way or a reason why they would pass up on him. I think he's the best tight end in this class. He's a pretty big guy. He is dealing with a shoulder injury, and that's why he hasn't been able to participate in the combine and do stuff like that. But he'll be fine by the time camp starts. Colston Loveland is one of my favorite players in this whole draft class. I think he's a true difference maker. I know the stats aren't going to blow your socks off, but remember, the Michigan Wolverines quarterback situation wasn't great at all. Drop rate under 4%. Very impressive guy. 10 yards per catch, 5 touchdowns. Only 82 targets and 56 receptions. So the quarterback accuracy was definitely a problem there. But if Loveland's on the board, you got to run and dunk that ticket in. I'm going to go Colston Loveland to the Eagles at 32 overall. Now, especially with Dallas Goedert's contract being up, I think there's like 4 Eagles tight end contracts that expire at the end of the season. You got to go Loveland there. Okay, so at 64 overall, Andrew Mukuba is on the board, a guy I really, really like. Some offensive linemen like Ursary and Tate Ratledge are interesting as well. Josiah Stewart, a guy very interesting. 6'1", 245. Definitely more of a 3-4 guy in my opinion. He's just kind of a juiced up pass rusher. He's got a lot of effort, man. He's a high effort guy. I do like Josiah Stewart. That could be really interesting for him coming off the edge. Shamar Turner is available. Alfred Collins is another guy who I think is really interesting. Could play on the interior part of this defensive line at 6'5", 320 pounds from Texas, right? But if I'm looking at the board, Josiah Stewart or Mukuba makes the most sense for me. If you take a look at the safeties that are left, I do like guys later in the draft like Malachi Moore, who I think is really interesting. Lathan Ransom is also on the board, but maybe he's available to us in the 3rd round. But for me, Oladejo is on the board too, a guy I really, really like, 6'3", 250. He's another really talented guy. I do like him a lot in this defense. Good size, 6'3", 250. 7 sacks, pretty productive this year, but only 1 real year of production. Definitely makes me a little bit trepidatious as I go into, this draft cycle. Josiah Stewart is definitely a little bit more of a established pass rusher in my opinion. 15 sacks over the last 2 years. True pass rush grade, 93.7. If you want a guy to come in and get after the quarterback, Josiah Stewart is absolutely that guy. So I'm going to go Josiah Stewart, edge defender from Michigan, with our 2nd round pick. Now, 3rd round, we're drafting 32nd overall. So far, we went Colston Loveland and Josiah Stewart. We're at 96 overall. Dorian Strong, the cornerback from Virginia Tech, he definitely makes some sense. Devin Neal's on the board. Jacob Parrish, a guy that they brought in for a top 30 visit, he is on the board as well. Noel Williams is a guy that I like. So if we take a look at how the board kind of played out, there's no real offensive lineman that I'm super in love with. At this point, the Eagles aren't desperate to sign an offensive lineman, so I'm going to stick to the trenches, and I'm going to stick to other positions in need like cornerback and safety. So let's take a look at the corners and the safeties here in the third round. Jacob Parrish is on the board. They brought him in for a top 30 visit, so they really like him. So I'm going to go Jacob Parrish here in the third round. Eagles draft a lot of their top 30 guys. They did that last year with Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. I think that trend continues this year. Jacob Parrish goes to the Eagles at 96 overall. Now, in the fourth round, we are up again, guys. Quindarius Robinson is another guy that I thought was really, really interesting in this potential scheme. 3-4 guy, kind of similar to what Josiah Stewart does. So let's take a look at some interior defensive linemen. Ty Robinson is on the board, 6'6", 310. He could definitely be in play for us there in the fourth round. Cameron Jackson from Florida, a guy who had a really, really good year. Good run defender, not so much the best pass, rusher in the world. 6'6", 342. Definitely the size of a nose, in my opinion. I'm taking a look at Logan Brown, the tackle from Kansas. He definitely makes some sense, right? I like his measurables. He doesn't have a ton of experience, so it's actually perfect because he could sit for a year behind Mailata and Lane Johnson and then go to Statland U. 6'6", 315. He's a very, very talented guy. And if history is going to play out again, they're probably going to go heavy in the trenches early in this draft. Tim Smith is on the board from Alabama, another guy I really like, 6'4", 314. Pretty solid guy. He could definitely play one of those left end or right end positions on the D-line. But for me, here, guys, in the fourth round, if the board plays out like this, Jack Kaiser is another guy I really like. Maybe he'll be available for us at 161 overall. And some of these linebackers will get pushed down a little bit. A lot of guys I like. But Logan Brown, I just love his measurables. I think he could be a starting left tackle or right tackle at some point. 6'6", 315. Logan Brown goes to the Eagles in the fourth round. Now, in the fifth round, we got 3 picks, 161, 164, and 165. On the board, Jordan Hancock from Ohio State. He's on the board. He had a really good year. Really good year. 75 overall grade. Added a safety there could make some sense for us. Craig Woodson from Cal, a guy who had an even better season. Wow, very impressive year. I love safeties with that missed tackle rate under 10%. Craig Woodson's kind of been falling under the radar. 6 foot 210. I definitely really like that player for sure. Tim Smith, a guy I definitely like. Kobe King, off-ball linebacker. Malachi Moore is another guy I really, really like from Alabama. Yeah, I'm going to go Malachi Moore here at 161 overall. One of my favorite players in this entire draft. I love myself some Malachi Moore. And we're going to go with big schools. Michigan guys, Alabama. I do like that. Now, at 164 overall, we got a corner. We got a safety. I want to go look at, D-line. Tim Smith from Alabama, 6'4", 314. I love the big school guys. Absolutely. So we're going to look at interior defensive line. Biggers from Georgia Tech. Harrison Hunt from SMU. SMU, guys, they actually have another player named Elijah Roberts at the end that I really like, 6'4", 294. But Tim Smith, Cam Hormsley is another guy that I really like, 6'4", 306. I do like Cam Hormsley or Tim Smith. We could go either one of these guys. Well-built defensive lineman. Explosive, doesn't have he's not the most explosive guy in the world, but I think he's a good player. Kind of give that D-line some depth. But man, Cam Hormsley, I love. He's really, really good against the run. Solid player. Really, really good. I do like Cam Hormsley. Another guy I like is Howard Cross III. Had a really good year in 2023, but regressed a little bit here in 2024. But went to Notre Dame. Very good defense there. So for me, I'm going to go Tim Smith. I think he's the best player left on the board at a position of need. Tim Smith from Alabama. A lot of Alabama guys. A lot of edge defenders here. Now we're up in the fifth round. 165 overall. 4 fifth-round picks, guys. Crazy. Absolutely. Jalen Lane from Virginia Tech. That's a really interesting play as well. Ty Felton from Maryland, bringing in another wide receiver. They did draft 2 last year, Ananias Smith and Johnny Wilson. They haven't really played out. A guy like Ty Felton, really interesting guy, 6'2", 186. Maybe in the 5th round, the Eagles take a flyer on him. Let's take a look. Luke Kandra from Cincinnati, a guard that I really like. I really like that he's an excellent pass blocker. So I'm going to bring in another guard. We're going to go trenches heavy here, guys. And then in our last pick in this 5th round, 168 overall, I'm going to go off-ball linebacker. I think that's the spot we want to concentrate on. Cody Simon from Ohio State is on the board. Incredible season. 87 overall grade. Can defend the run, rush the pass. Pretty decent in coverage as well. Coverage stops. Top 11 in the nation with 20. Very, very impressive guy. Forced incompletions 4. I just think he's a really good player. I'm going to go with the linebacker, Cody Simon, 6'2", 235. And that wraps it up, guys. Cody Simon from Ohio State. We want a lot of big program guys in this draft. We got Colston Loveland, Josiah Stewart, Jacob Parrish. We got a really good tackle on Logan Brown, Malachi Moore, Tim Smith, Luke Kandra, another great offensive lineman here from Cincinnati. Who else went to Cincinnati? Jason Kelsey went to Cincinnati. So maybe that connection can make Luke Kandra a great Philadelphia Eagle as well. And then we went Cody Simon, the off-ball linebacker. I think with Nakobe Dean's injury and his contract coming to an end, we needed to add another off-ball linebacker. We went, we got a guard, we got a tackle, we got a cornerback, a safety. Both positions on the D-line we addressed, and the tight end. Eagles fans, let me know in the comments below. Do you like this draft? Should we have went defense early? It said we should have drafted Alec Iomanor, the wide receiver, instead of Colston Loveland. That's probably the dumbest thing I ever heard. So take these PFF grades with a grain of salt. They're pretty awful, actually, in my opinion. The last thing the Eagles need, the way the roster is right now, is another wide receiver who's going to sit on the bench when Colston Loveland could come in and take over for Dallas Goedert sooner rather than later. Because if they drafted him, then they could trade Dallas Goedert and get another draft pick, 4th, 5th, maybe even a 6th rounder this year or next year. All right, guys, thank you so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace.